And good morning, Kieran Gilbert here in Canberra. With me this half hour, I'm joined by the Finance Minister, Matthias Cormann, on First Edition. Minister, thanks very much for your time. I want to ask you, first of all, about this IMF report. It's been covered in a number of the papers today. It's quite a gloomy outlook for the Australian economy. Says that our growth forecasts are too ambitious.
Well, we don't believe they are. I mean, we're obviously facing a series of challenges, global economic headwinds, but we are pressing ahead, implementing our plan for stronger growth, more jobs to repair the budget. I mean, this past fortnight we've been able to get our small business and jobs package through the Senate. We've of course implemented a whole range of other economic reforms over the past 2 years. We are very confident that our estimates are based on realistic assumptions. And I mean, look, there's always going to be a level of commentary. Last year people were saying we were being too pessimistic. Some people now are saying we're too optimistic. We're pretty confident that we've got it about right.
But this is the International Monetary Fund. It's not just some random economist. They're saying our long-term trajectory is not at the 3.5% mark. It's closer to 2.5%.
Well, I mean, in the end, everyone that looks into the future makes an estimate based on assumptions. So we believe that we're using realistic assumptions, obviously the proof will be in the pudding down the track.
Their reference to interest rates and more rate cuts being necessary. Have you got any reaction?
Well, I mean, obviously the official cash rate is a matter for the Reserve Bank, but it's a matter of objective fact that our interest rates are very low by historical standards, and obviously that is one of the reasons why we are confident about economic growth into the future.
The number, or the savings from last year's budget that you have not been able to get through, that's been reduced now to just over $10 billion. Quite some progress made with a more pragmatic Labor Party. Do you welcome that pragmatism?
Well, obviously, we have always been prepared to work with all parties and all individual senators in the Senate on repairing the budget. It is true, in this fortnight we've been able to pass more than $14 billion in budget repair measures. That now takes the budget improvements legislated through the Senate to more than $50 billion since last year's budget. So we're continuing.
It's a relief. Must be a relief for you.
Well, it's important for the country. It's important for the country because obviously this is all part of putting Australia on a stronger foundation for the future, protecting our living standards and building better opportunity for the future.
This fuel tax, the excise that Labor's agreed to now, it caused a lot of political pain, and now Labor also gets to bank the saving. I guess they get the best of both worlds.
Well, I mean, we were always confident that when it was all said and done, that Labor and the Greens, for that matter, would have no choice but to support what was a very important structural reform. I mean, this reform will have a small impact on individual Australians, but it will provide a significant opportunity for the Australian government to invest in productivity enhancing, job creating road infrastructure for the future.
And in terms of the remaining $10 billion or so in savings, you're confident on that, on the remainder?
We'll continue to work our way through the list of jobs that remain to be done. We will do so in a prioritised and sequential manner. We're very, we obviously will continue to talk to all parties and all individual senators represented in the Senate, and we hope that everyone will continue to focus on the national.
The family payment reduction, though, I can't see that ever getting through. In terms of funding your childcare plan, you'll have to come up with money elsewhere to provide for that.
Well, we think it's very important to help families get better access to simpler, more affordable, more flexible childcare arrangements. But of course, if you want to pay more on a comparatively higher priority, then you need to make sure that you identify savings elsewhere. And that is a conversation we'll continue to have with the Senate, and let's see where we end up. But I mean, the fundamental point here is that our families package, our childcare package, is also an important part of strengthening growth and creating better opportunity, because it helps families get into work, stay in work and be in work.
Let's look at a couple of other issues. A report in Fairfax today that at the federal executive this weekend there'll be a number of party members, Liberal Party members, seek to rein in the government, I guess, in terms of the post-2020 carbon emission targets. They want to, quote, examine the evidence around climate change before any post-2020 agreement is agreed to. What's your reaction to that, coming from a cabinet minister's perspective?
Well, I mean, Australia is on track to meet and exceed our 2020 target of 5% emissions reduction, and of course there will be an arrangement for the post-Kyoto period, and Australia will of course participate in that conversation internationally. So let's just, I mean, obviously these processes are currently underway. No doubt, I mean, there's absolutely no doubt that there will be a further target, and there will be a conversation about what the appropriate target would be.
And your message to counterparts in the Liberal Party who want to examine the evidence further before you agree to any such commitment?
I let Federal Council of the Liberal Party have these discussions, and let's see what is decided after that discussion has been had.
So Greg Hunt is constantly having to pull elements of the party with him, isn't he? Because he obviously believes in the science and wants some credible targets set, but there are still elements of your party that don't accept it.
Well, I mean, from the government's point of view, the government is committed to effective action on climate change. We just took the view that the Labor Green carbon tax was not effective action on climate change. I mean, the Labor Green carbon tax just pushed up the cost of living, pushed up the cost of doing business for no benefit when it came to emissions reductions. Now, the discussion in Australia is about what is the most effective policy response, not about the question on whether or not we do need a policy response.
Let's finish off on this uproar that's emerged out of the Q&A program earlier in the week. Kevin Andrews apparently is going to implement a personal boycott of the show. What's your take on all of that? Will you follow suit?
I haven't been on Q&A for a very long time. I mean, mostly because I haven't been invited for a very long time. Look, I mean, there's obviously some issues with, you know.
But you're on the ABC a fair bit.
I talk to all journalists in all platforms.
But not just journalists. What's that other program where you feature regularly?
I don't know.
Micallef, is it? Sean Micallef?
Ah, well, that's I haven't.
It's not you.
I haven't ever been invited there either. I wouldn't mind going there one day.
Okay. Well, there's a scoop. Matthias Cormann, thanks for your time.
All right, it's good to be here.